comes to surveillance and stuff, I think it really kind of depends on like the perspectives of which communities are, and like specific communities and their perspectives on surveillance, because specific communities will be pressurised more in terms of surveillance. One thing I did want to mention, newspaper. I want to try to wait until my friend gets here. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like even this whole Jihadi John name that the media's made up, and like how it's now affecting the Muslim community. And a lot of people, like, this whole name's come through the media, that's not his real name, and how they're kind of glamorising it at the same time. So the more attention you give to it, you're feeding an energy. So whilst people are doing that, they're giving it too much attention, like one person, and they're just allowing that whole thing to kind of circulate, and it's just like, you know, you've got his, like I was saying to Nat earlier, like you've got his old head teacher having a say in it. Sorry, but my head teacher from 10 years ago don't know me anymore. And like, and then you've got a girl from like when he was a teenager, probably hadn't even hit puberty probably, and like saying about how he tried to chat to her and how he had bad breath, and now they wrote all this stupidness, and the way that they're getting away with it as well, like they're saying not so much Jihadi John as Allah Tosis Ali, and it's like you guys are really getting away with this kind of bad man stuff, you know, like through whatever. Hey, yeah. So I think like when it comes to surveillance, like me coming from a Muslim community and a lot of the stuff that I've been involved in, like I think it's say for example if I wore a hijab, then I might be more like they might have actually spoke to me by now, and other things are based on some of the things that I have been involved in, or but also it's like the surveillance, like stop and search, and how it affects mainly African communities and Muslim communities, Asian communities, but more so it's definitely African Caribbean communities will be affected mainly by like stop and search housing, again surveillance under what kind of pressure, like how it pressurizes communities, because I don't really think they work within our interests. Okay. But yeah, we got Nat, and that's where I didn't get to hear your last one, sorry. I had to get my phone. But yeah, I think for people to really appreciate that, you've got to be on a higher vibration, or you just won't hear it, you know? Like, and you'll just see a man there, but you won't really be able to absorb what he's saying. So yeah. This young man named Imran Douglas was hit by a police car, but nobody listened. Age 17 when he murdered an old woman. In Romford, she was sitting in her care home. He was sentenced 18 years and sent to Belmarsh prison. Usually, young men are sent to a young offenders institution. Within 1 week of his sentence, they said he took his own life. He died under custody when the state neglected his cries. They didn't pay attention to his mental health condition. He developed neurological damage after spending time in a coma. 2013, his life ended on 13th November. Only his family mourned. Others saw a thug, undeserving of empathy. Imran had pleaded guilty, he was just a young boy. His family mourned for Marjorie too. At his crime they were annoyed. But how many have died whilst being restrained in custody, meant to be under the care of the state but treated no different to our ancestors in colonies? Families of 8 of the people who died in Belmarsh await inquests, unable to mourn 4 years after the death of their beloved. What about Nadine Wright, who was doing her sentence in Peterborough, was stealing less than £14 of food, but she was just a heroin user. In November 2013, she miscarried in her cell. A day after being in prison, they made her clean up her fetus and scrub the blood herself. But she was just a thieving junkie. She couldn't look after their child. They didn't really have to take 3 days before the governor interfered. Her healthcare ignored, 11 months of benefits, probation neglected. Is this a fascist society England has come to been, or always been? People treated poorly, awaiting justice for deaths in custody. Some showed empathy for Mark Duggan's death. What if Mark had just been another man locked in a prison cell? What if they'd froze his life and not taken it? Would he have been just another thug who deserved to rot in prison? Does everyone have to be killed in broad daylight for us to pause and listen? When our brothers are killed in local police stations or prison, their values dismissed. We're lucky they aren't as bad as Israel. But tell me, where did Israel learn its policies on administrative detention without trial? Was it not England who they imitated, the veteran colonizer? Why was Baba Ahmed extradited, tortured and made to plead guilty? Terrorism, they say, but evidence being less than plenty. Dala Hassan awaited trial after being extradited. 6 years held in detention, no trial, all for his poetry. How many have to die before we wake to the brutality on our own doorstep? Recognise the fascism. Why is the child sentenced years for taking water off the co-op shelf?